Hello and welcome to Nat Chat. I'm Jenny Kadaris. Today I'm here with Nick Ray from the Ethical Consumer Group. Welcome to the program.
G'day.
Thank you for coming along today.
No worries.
That's good. So can you just tell me a little bit about what the Ethical Consumer Group is?
Yes, the Ethical Consumer Group's come out of a concern for people, that people have to actually shop a bit more sustainably, a bit more ethically, and we've produced some various guides or tools to help people do that, but it's a bit more than that now as well. So there's a network of people where we're trying to help put some of these principles into our everyday activity.
Oh, that's great. So what inspired you to establish the Ethical Consumer Group? Did it come out of a particular issue? Did it come out of, I guess, a person who may have inspired you, or was it a story? What was it that kind of inspired you?
Well, there's lots of things. One is a big concern about the way that our society is going in terms of consumption being something that is part of our society and at the fabric of really our society, and yet something that damages the planet in so many ways and our own health as well. But really going back, my mother often was very confused when shopping because she'd want to make better choices and yet was a bit overwhelmed by issues. So that was part of it. And then it actually came to a head in terms of action at the World Economic Forum, which was actually in September 11, 2000, not the normal September 11 we think about, where a whole lot of world leaders got together at the Crown Casino in Melbourne to discuss ways of managing their business better and thinking about environmental and social issues as well. And it was wonderful, a huge amount of people who had a passion to say, hey, you need to clean up your act. And there was a whole lot of protests at that time. Lots of really good intentions, but a group of us sat down after receiving many flyers of various issues and talked about the fact that the actual content, the paper content in these flyers hadn't been alluded to on them at all. And we realised that often it's the things that we value actually aren't carried through in our purchases and actually affect the world in ways in which we wouldn't choose for them to do.
So a lot of it has to do with transparency issues, just not being aware and having the information and then also being given that information, is that right? It
is about transparency. The everyday consumer often has not enough information, but also too much of certain information as well, so they feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think we need to be exposed to, I guess, graphic images or movies or stories that are graphic in terms of the abuses, whether that's to humans, the environment, to animals, I guess in order to inspire us to actually do something about, I guess, the practices that businesses are engaging in to turn a profit? Do we need to go to that level? Do we need to be there in order for something to transpire within ourselves?
Well, personally, I'd hope we don't. As in, I think as human beings, most people actually have an ethic of care. Often our ethic of care is quite narrowly focused on our family and ourselves and those closest to us. And in a global community, our ethic of care really needs to broaden out. And I suppose some of those images shock us out of our complacency. And there's a whole lot of images that are going the other way from an advertising industry, a marketing industry, that is saying, hey, you need to be a passive consumer. Just take on the associations that these products bring. You know, you'll drink this drink and you'll be a better surfer. That's as far as it goes. And what our work is actually encouraging people to think critically about their purchases and to engage responsibly.
So I guess, what does the Ethical Consumer Group do?
One of the things we've tried to do is collate a database of products and related companies and related issues. And so the idea is to give people more information. The focus of that has largely been the company record of companies connected with products.
Yeah.
So you'll find the majority of people know about brands, but the companies behind the brands, we don't know who owns. For example, Uncle Toby's, good old Australian brand, just last year was bought by Nestle, the largest global food company. So we're constantly seeing more multinational companies taking over smaller companies, and a smaller playing field, really, less diversity, and therefore in a sense less choice, although it doesn't appear that way on the shelves.
I guess because sometimes we'll get a product, say it might be, for example, Vegemite, and it's an Australian product. We've known it to be always an Australian product, and I guess some people still associate that product as being Australian rather than the reality being that it is an American-owned product. So is there also, I guess, the links to the product and its inception in Australia, and still carrying on the idea that, you know, even though it is owned elsewhere, it is an Australian product, and that linkage between being an Australian product?
Yeah, there's quite a few issues in here in terms of thinking ethically or sustainably about purchases.
Yeah.
Ownership is simply one of those, and our website and our guide, because we have a print guide, which is a pocket guide for taking into the supermarket, basically alludes to many of the issues, but as I said, focuses on company record. Yeah, what we're encouraging people to do is take on some of those issues, not all of them at once.
Okay. Well, you're watching Nat Chat. I'm Jenny Kadaris, and we'll just be going to an ad.